Hey, today's class is Black Beauty. Dude, look who's volunteering, man. All right, damn. So let's introduce yourselves, and then I'm going to talk a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
Studying biology.
Okay, where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Hi, my name is Jenna Odote. I'm a first-year criminology major, and I'm from Kenya.
Hey, by the way, my condolences regarding Calvin Clifton, the marathon runner who just died in Kenya? Are you watching? Dude, seriously? He's a national hero. The entire country of Kenya, practically the entire continent of Africa, is in mourning. He died at the age of 24 in a car accident the other day. Really tried. He's a world record holder in the marathon. Yeah. Anyway.
Hi, I'm KJ. I'm from New York. I'm a second year and I'm majoring in sociology.
Dude, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, awesome, man. New York, do you mean New York City?
Yeah, New York City and Long Island.
Very cool. All right, man. So here's what's up. We're going to talk about beauty and just beauty in general, but I really want to look at beauty in black women. But I'm going to start by just saying a few things so I kind of hold it, so I kind of frame some things of what we're talking about. If I say black women, who are we talking about and what are we talking about? And your ancestry is Jamaican, right? Or
Kenyan.
Oh yeah, Kenyan. Yours is, sorry. Yeah. Jamaican, right? Are you Afro-Caribbean?
No, I'm Caribbean, but my family's from Barbados, the Virgin Islands, and Panama.
Okay. All right, cool. So listen, first off, let's do this, and then let's do the quiz. I forgot about the quiz, and then we'll go from there. It would be nice if we could take a few questions from the stream. We got 3 great volunteers, and I think it's going to be a really interesting class. Interesting for me because I'm very curious about what they're actually going to say. So definitely get a few questions from the stream. Okay, it'd be nice. And we will be having office hours tomorrow, and I'd like to hear from some people tomorrow at 3:05. We'll be back on. I'd like to take some questions then. Okay, are we ready? You guys took the quiz? All right, man. We good? Everyone's got it? Hey, so here's a thought. One of the things that, like when we say black, like what are we talking about, right? Because across the board, so we measure skin pigmentation, and to just kind of assess like the level of melanin in people's skins and in the darkness of the skin, depending on how much melanin and quality and so on. And people with the darkest skin on the planet tend to be from South Asia. And so when we measure skin color by taking a measurement right here, we have the spectrometer that we use for skin, and it tends to be people from South Asia. So when we say black, we don't think about South Asians. And so I just want to kind of point that out. But this is just a map of the slave trade and people moving in the West. Okay, and so what you'll notice here is if you look at this, most the idea is in the United States, or maybe in lots of places other than South America, when people think about slavery, they think about the United States. I mean, you don't, as someone who's Caribbean, right? Because you know you're going to know a different history. But if you look at the size of the arrows, is an indication of the migration, the number of people who are migrating. And so, look at the number of people in Brazil, and also slavery here, even on the western coast of South America, right? So, like for example, there's a little town in Ecuador, right up here, called Esmeraldas. And I remember when I rolled into that town one day on a bus, and I got there and I realized, oh my God, I felt like I was in Africa because it was a slave port, and the town was populated historically by Africans. And so it's like, so when you think South America, and when you think about Ecuador, you know, and you think the indigenous peoples of Ecuador, and then the people with Spanish ancestry of Ecuador, nobody thinks black Ecuadorians, but you know, you roll into this town and we see that. But in any case, look at the number. It's not just North America, it's the Americas. In fact, there were only about 500,000 Africans who were taken to North America. Of the other 27 million or so were mostly in the South, okay? Or South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. All right, so let me look at a couple things. So I just want to show you an example of this, right? So we work with in a favela in Rio, and these are kids who are part of the favela, and what we do is in Social 19, we raise money for them. It's an art project. These are kids who it's just a really poor favela, but there's a woman there who we work with who teaches, it's like an after-school program, and she teaches all sorts of art, and these are some of the kids, which is pretty cool, right? Like really, really cool kids. And they make paintings, and they paint the streets, but look at like these kids. You know, they are descendants of West Africans. And by the way, I want to go back to something. When we say Africans, if you note where Africa is a huge continent, and Africa is the most diverse continent in the world. And there's more diversity within Africa than between Africans and Europeans, for example, right? So there's such an incredible amount of diversity of DNA. And so when we talk about Africans and in the Africans here in the West, what we're really talking mostly is West Central Africans. And so when you note that people tend to look a certain way, or have certain features, they have certain features, like for example, setting you aside, but the two of you, if we took all of your ancestors, right, so you being Caribbean and you African American, if we took all of your ancestors and we kind of grouped them all, lined them all up, they would look on average very different than your ancestors, right? Because their ancestry is West African. And so when we think about, even to say African American, when those of us who study DNA and these issues are really thinking West African American, because East Africans, North Africans, South Africans, in many places throughout Central Africa look very different. There's very different bodies, very different types. So it's like the same as Simone and I. Like you look at Simone and I and you think like, oh, these two people are very different. But actually, it's quite possible that Simone and I are more genetically similar than Simone and Jenna. But you wouldn't think that. And that's kind of skin sometimes can do a trick on us because it's like, it's a very small part of our DNA in it, but it's the one that we see. And so it can kind of jump out. Okay? So here's favela, here are these kids. But then we have what in Brazil we call pardos. And pardos or pardas in this case, since they're all girls, are mixed race people. And so you see like her, you see her African ancestry, but also all three of them. You see like, yeah, but they're also mixed. Got a lot of white blood. And all these kids, like look at them. Like look at her. She's very light skinned, but look at her hair. Look at her. They look very similar. She's just lighter skin, right? And so just look at how they're different. So this is like 45% of the population. So, but when we think about black Americans, we think Brazil also, right? Like, let's just understand what we're thinking about here. By the way, that's a painting in my living room. These kids painted it for me. And it's 2 meters long. It's really cool. It's just a way of painting. I commissioned them to do it. Okay. So, all right, my friends, we are back for a conversation. All right. Do you guys, three of you know any of these women? Do you recognize them, or do you know who they are? Who do you recognize?
I don't know their names, but they obviously did pageants, and I know the girl in the middle, she committed suicide.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize the girl in the middle, and then Miss Teen USA.
Mm-hmm. Miss Teen, did she go further and win anything else, do you know? Yeah, so the woman on the left is Jamaican. Her last name is Singh, actually. So her mother is Afro-Caribbean completely, but her father, I think her grandfather is her father's Asian Caribbean, right? Asian black, Afro-Asian. So Singh would give it off, right? Singh is. And the woman, and the second woman is from South Africa. And then the woman on the right, that's this woman, Nia Franklin. She's from the U.S., and I just want to show you something. That's her family, okay? And I just found this photo, and I thought, okay, for the conversation that we're going to have, I thought it would be really nice to just put her family up. So she's black. She's not like white black, it's not like, yet she's black. So I don't even know what white black is, but you know what I mean? Like, she's black. She's anybody who would look at that family and say, that's an average black family. It's not like, you're not thinking anything other than that. Okay, so here's my question to you all, right? 2019, all of these women have African ancestry, okay? What do you make of that? What do you make of that? These are the most identified, they win the pageants, so whatever it means, the most beautiful women representing whatever, I don't know what that kind of stuff means, right? I mean, obviously it's just your facial features, you gotta sing and dance and speak and do other things, I don't know, but this is what we hold up as saying, in Miss World, Miss Universe, USA, Miss Teen USA, Miss America, to say like, hey, this is the epitome of beauty right here. So one of you, I just want to riff on this for a little bit, talk about it. Like, what do you make of that? Like, what comes to mind when you look at that photo and like, damn, okay, 2019. Who wants to go first?
Well, I definitely remember seeing I think first it was Miss USA came out, and I was like, oh, she's black. I went to my mom, I was like, Mom, Miss USA, she's a black woman. And then I saw Miss Teen USA, and I was like, oh, Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, they're both black. And then I think the other three came out, and I was just kind of and it's kind of sad to say, but I was just kind of huh, why all of a sudden are all five of them black? And I don't mean that to say that they can't be, but I feel this has never happened before. Why all of a sudden?
So you ask yourself that. What happened? What happened in 2019 that or in kind of 2018 to 2019 that this happened? Okay. Yeah. Did you come up with an answer, or
no?
You just asked the question.
I mean, I was happy. I'm still gonna be happy for them, but it was just in the back of my mind, why?
What's
I
up?
wonder why.
Yeah, KJ.
I thought it was kind of cool because usually when you see pageants, it's just all white women. And when I was a kid, I used to do pageants all the time, and I never won. I was always first runner up, so second place. So I thought it was really cool to see all those black women to won, and now they're representing United States, and representation matters. So that was cool.
And what's cool about it? For you, as a black woman, what's cool about that?
That I could maybe well, not me. I don't want to do pageants anymore. But let's say like a little black girl sees that and she's like, dang, I could do that too. Like that could be me. That could be me one day. I could do that.
And then I could be that.
Yes.
What is it to be that?
To just like win a pageant, I guess. I don't know. Pageants are weird. They're all subjective, and that's a bunch of like people just judging you because you're pretty and you talk well or you dance a certain way. It's all subjective and stupid, but it's cool though because you got to win, so that's good.
Or you came in second.
Yeah.
Or first runner-up or second runner-up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People always are like when Penn State loses a game by, I don't know, like one field goal. I'm like, dude, they only lost by one field goal, man. Like, that's not easy to do. I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't come in second in a 100-meter or in a beauty pageant. So, like, okay. Jenna, how about you, man? What's it say to you? What's it mean for you?
I think I mainly remember Miss Universe because, like, I don't know, she looks the most different out of the rest of them, I guess. Like, her shorter hair, seeing that was, like, really nice for me because my hair was, like, a lot shorter during that time. And, like, you didn't really see a lot of women with shorter hair, especially curly hair. So, like, seeing her was really nice, I think.
Because why is that? Like, with shorter hair, like, what does that mean? Can you say more about that?
It's like you don't really see women who are like, oh, they're really pretty, who have like short curly hair, like in the media or like anywhere really. I feel like for women, it's kind of like you have to have long hair.
Why do you think we don't see that? Like, what do you, and this could be any of you, like, what's your story for why we tend not to, we tend to see a certain hairstyles with black women? What's your story, or what do you tell yourself, or what? And by the way, part of what we're doing is just, as a lot of people, I'm just asking questions that people have, you know what I mean? Understand, I don't have any answers to these questions. I have an idea of some things that you will say, but it's really, we're just educating folks out here to say, like, yeah, so what is it about hair? Because, by the way, Miss Universe, she's South African, right? She refuses to wear weaves. She refuses to wear wigs. I mean, it's like, it's her hair, and she does whatever she wants. She doesn't straighten. Like, she's not putting a bunch of chemicals on her hair. It's like, she's like, nah, man, this is me. So, for good or for bad, right? And I'm of the idea, by the way, that people with curly hair like to have fun straightening their hair. People with straight hair like to have fun curling their hair, because we just like to do stuff that's different. And when you're like me and you don't have any hair, you just like wished I had more hair that I could do anything with, but whatever, right? So anyway, yeah, so she's just her. So does anyone want to say something?
I can talk about that. I think definitely growing up, I feel like I had kind of a struggle with my hair. I was definitely the type of girl that would like go to the hair salon every week, get her hair straightened. But I think as I got to college, I like saw more like curly hair stuff on Instagram and TikTok, and I was like, that's how I want my hair to be. So I like legit like went into my drawer, grabbed my scissors, and cut off like all the straight pieces that was on my hair from all the years of straightening it and it being damaged.
Hold the mic just a little closer.
Sorry. So, and then throughout college, I learned how to do my hair as a somebody with like type 4 curlier hair. It's kind of harder to maintain.
Wait, can you say, are you 4C?
No,
would you say?
it's like 4.
Yeah, you don't look 4C.
Yeah, it's like 4A, 4B type.
Yeah, I would say that. Okay. You know what? I would always say that, but almost always I say that, and people are like, no, I'm 4C. Like, it's a badge of honor to be 4C, right? And yet I'm like, or even though it's hard, you know, whatever, it's complicated. Can you explain what that means?
So in like the Black community, to determine like hair types, we use kind of like a number system. So like straighter hair would be like the 2A range, and then like the curlier, like wavy hair would be like 3A to 3C, and then the coils would be like 4A to 4C, and those are like the really tight curls. So as you can see, like I have like really tight curls, and my hair right now is short, but like when I do straighten it, it does come to about like maybe under armpit length. So, but like, yeah, I wear braids, like they're a protective style. They help protect our hair from some of the elements. I haven't really worn any like wigs or weaves, and it's not because I don't want to, it's just because I don't know how to do that, and I'm not paying somebody hundreds of dollars to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just how I feel.
By the way, there's two, coiled, kinked, and curled. So if you look at hair, so you have a wave, you have a curl. So if you look at hair under a microscope, this is what you see, right? Either straight, a little bit of a wave in it, a curl in it, like really big curl, and then you have kinks, which is like, like
Z.
yeah, like a
that.
Z here, this kind of thing. And then you have coils.
Like tight coils.
Tight coils. And coils, that's what it's a real tight coil. This is like, and then it like locks together, and this is what locks are, right? You just let the coils go and they just lock. It just come out really, really tight coils. But so that's just, I'm just saying that so people know that. So okay. KJ, do you want to say, like, what else, like, she's like wearing her hair natural. What's that mean for you? Like, what do you?
I think that's awesome because, like, yeah, she's being herself and doing her own thing. Because I think for a long time, the beauty standard was to have long, straight hair. And even, like, in the Black community, like, I'm trying to think back to, like, when I used to watch TV shows and, like, there was Black characters, they always had, like, some sort of straight hair. And I think it's cool now that Black women are embracing their natural hair, saying that our hair is just as pretty as long straight hair, and that's okay.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be, right? Like, what message? What'd you get growing up? Like, what were you told about your hair? What's your natural hair, by? Like, what's your number? Like,
I think I'm like a mix between 4B and 4C. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you do a lot of work. You make a lot happen to have your hair like it is.
Yeah, like right now my hair is like slicked, but I had to part it in like 5 different sections to get it this flat.
Dude, you have a
and
cool,
blow dry it out.
Turn that way, just so just turn that way. See, like, just hang on, yeah. See, like, the part, just the part right here. This is really cool. I love what you did right in there. Yeah, it's cool, man.
Thank you.
Did you do that? You designed that yourself?
I'm sorry?
You did that yourself on
Yeah,
purpose?
just like, yep.
Dude, I love it. So why though, right? So if you're saying, wow, it's really cool that she's wearing her hair natural, and she's selected as the beauty Miss Universe, man. And this isn't just the planet Earth. This is like the whole fucking universe. Like, oh my God. Okay, I dropped an F-bomb. Sorry about that. If you're offended, I'm sorry. Okay, I get excited there. So, but you don't. And you're like, oh, it's really cool that she wears her hair natural and you're straightening your hair. So, like, walk us through, like, what are you thinking besides what I just said, which is like, we like different hairstyles, so you're going to do this, you're going to do that. So when do you let your hair go natural?
Just like natural, like in a short afro.
Yeah, let's say.
I don't really wear my hair like that just because, like, me personally, I feel like I don't look good with my hair and it's like complete short natural state, but that's just me. I know a lot of women who have short curly hair who look beautiful and look amazing, but I guess, we are all our own, like, we're really self-critical with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing that I am kind of, but I'm getting better at it. I'm not going to lie.
Can I put you on the spot really
Sure.
fast? Okay, so I'm really putting you on the spot, remember? You said, don't come at me. But I'm not really putting you on the spot. But, okay, so self-critical, right? And you said, okay, I'm getting better at it. What are you getting better at?
Pertaining to my hair?
Yeah, what are you getting better at?
I think I'm getting better at doing my hair in general. I'm getting into, like, the products and stuff, what to use, what not to use, what's good. For my hair, and it's just a bunch of experimental stuff,
So what if you grew up in a world, like in a community completely that was like, oh man, it's a dog, like, no, like it's short, like let it go natural, like, looks great, looks awesome. And everybody around me was going natural and looking awesome. Like, do you think you'd be more likely to
Probably.
look in a mirror and say like, oh yeah, I look great?
Probably. I don't know. I think so. I guess I grew up around like everyone in my family, they perm their hair and whatnot, and they all wear their hair straight
Yeah.
for the most part. Yeah.
Hey, and I'm not critiquing that, by the way, right? Like, I know Julie, and no, not that Julie, the other Julie on the stream in Bogota. Like, someday I'm going to we'll have her come in class when she straightens her hair is really naturally curly, like really curly. But then whenever she goes to get her haircut, she has them straighten it. And it's just because it's fun, because they can do it and it's fun. And it's like, yeah, so I have it straight for a couple of days and then it's back to curly. I'm like, okay.
And also, I think why a lot of people wear their hair straight, well, especially like in my family, from what they told me, was that because it's just easier to maintain our hair that way when it's straight. It's easier, like, if it's in our natural state, we have to do it every day, put all this type of moisturizer in it all the time, and that's draining.
Yeah.
So we straighten it because sometimes it's easier.
Yeah. Definitely. Jenna, how about you? Like, what? When you think like, oh, Miss Universe is like going natural, it's like, okay, that's cool, right? What do you see? Yeah, you're good.
I think that was like really nice to see because like I mean my hair was short like in 2015. My mom cut it, which is like not fun at all. I was crying. It was terrible because it was like that. I mean, it was about that short, but seeing that at that time would have been so much better because I come on like 4 years earlier than that, and I felt like really bad about my hair and stuff like that. So I think seeing that was kind of nice.
There's something that stands out, right? Hey, let me ask. Can we? Okay, so listen. This like segues us into talking about kind of the white beauty standard, because that's in a way what we're kind of wrestling with, or it's like the thing that's in the room. There is there's clearly a white beauty standard, right? I mean, look. First off, there's a majority beauty standard. Whatever the majority group is, that becomes a standard by which we measure many different things. Okay. Whatever the majority group, doesn't matter where we are or how we are, okay? And so if the majority group is really tall, then tall is what people want. If the majority group's really short, then short's what people want. It just shapes everything. So, but what this tells me, but what does these series of photos say about that white beauty standard? Simone, do you want to go? Yeah, what's it say? You know?
I feel like it's saying that like the being white or just having European ancestry like doesn't define beauty. Like beauty comes in all shapes, sizes, colors, and like having that Eurocentric beauty standard does not represent the world and what beauty looks like, especially in other parts of the world too. So,
yeah, okay, it definitely says that. And even the white beauty standard is saying not all white people fit the standard, right? Like if you remember the Miss Japan, who had to give up her crown, by the way, because she had this kind of little sexual thing that happened, whatever, so she gave up her crown. She's Polish, man. She has a Polish nose. I don't know, did any of the three of you see her nose? Did you, when we put the photo up, did you go, whoa, Dan, she's got a Polish nose? Okay. A lot of white people, if you're Polish, you're like, okay, that's awesome. My wife has a Polish nose, right? It's like you'd be like, oh, okay, but she has a prominent Polish nose. So that's just like, that is not the white standard, you know what I mean? So it fits. It works really well in Japan, and it's fine in Poland, but in a lot of other places, the Polish nose might not make it to the finals, so to speak, right? Okay, just saying. Like, for me, it's awesome. But there's this standard that in the community, and in the Black community in particular, we talk about, there's a common conversation about white standards of beauty, white standards of so many things. But this is telling us, wait, hang on a minute, but there's a crack in that standard. Like that standard isn't as strong as it used to be. So what does that say? Like, I just want to kind of go further about that because we're talking about it. I just want to, Jenna, what, do you have anything, can you go further on the white standard? Just like, yeah, like how much does the white standard impact you? Like when you're saying like, yeah, I look in a mirror and my hair's natural and I'm wearing a natural, but I think I don't look good. How much of that is the white standard that's been imposed on the black community? Because it has been imposed on the black community. That's not a question.
I think, yeah, like going back to what I said before, like when I was growing up as a kid, I used to watch like different TV shows, even like the black characters had some sort of like straightened hair. So like that's what was deemed like society deemed that acceptable. So like that's what I thought was okay. And I think society now is growing into like, especially with social media and stuff, like Simone said, people are showing off their natural hair more and braiding their hair more and doing their hair naturally and not straightening it and permanent as much anymore. So I think it's just like a shift in trends, you know?
But, okay, so here, let me ask you, I want to just go further on this, okay? So, but society is us. And we always have this idea that if people if we don't like something, then we should say no to it. And if we don't, and then we should have the power to say no to it and just say no to it. But if we succumb to it, then we're acknowledging at some level that we don't have the power. So like when you, for example, I'm just going to stand over here so I'm closer to you. When you are looking in a mirror and saying like, or when you're saying like, oh yeah, there's a certain standard of beauty, but people would say, hey man, KJ, you have the power to just look in that mirror and be like, no, I'm beautiful just as I am, man. You know what I mean? My hair's beautiful just as it is, but we oftentimes blame the system. But when is it not the system and it's just you, man? Just make that decision. Like, man,
So you're calling me weak? Yeah, so you're calling me weak and that I should be more empowered in my own way and say F what society is saying and do my own thing.
No, well, actually, as a sociologist, I would say the vast majority of us are socialized to follow what we follow. Yeah, it's not, but that's the problem is what sociologists say all the time, and then people criticize us because we would say we're not weak. Like I would say, the sociologist would say, nah, hey, you're not weak. You're you like me, like everybody else. The fact that, I'm wearing the clothes, everything is like, no, we're following the standards of the way we've been socialized. And so like, that's what people do. And there's nothing weak about that. We're following the standards, but that's why people think sociologists are all these liberal, bleeding heart lefties, because we remove some responsibility from people. Does that make sense? But people have some responsibility also. So the question is, when did you look in a mirror and go, damn, man, stop following other people's standards and like, no, do that, fight that.
Like an exact time. I just,
like
honestly.
When do you do that? When do you do that? Yeah.
When do I do?
When do you say like, look in the mirror and be like, no, dude, stop. KJ, I'm looking in a mirror. Stop, don't follow what other people are thinking. Just follow what I think. Like, what do I want? What do I feel? What do I think? Yeah. Oh, I mean, you do that all the time, right?
Yes. I think so now. I do that more. I kind of just, whatever makes me feel comfortable, I'm going to do that hairstyle. So if I want to straighten my hair,
yeah,
I'm going to straighten my hair because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
If I want to wear my hair curly, I'm going to do that because that's what I want to do. If I want to slick my hair back,
yeah,
I'll slick it back.
Yeah, got you. The question is, how often do you want one as opposed to the other?
How often do? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the question you have to ask yourself.
I
right?
think honestly that just depends on how much money I got right now. I'm
Yeah, I
not gonna
got you.
lie. I usually do my own like natural hair by myself, but if I want to get it straightened, I have to go somewhere else and get it straightened. So if
Yeah.
I want to spend that money, then I'll go spend that
Yeah.
money. But if
Yeah,
I
not-
don't, I'll do my hair myself, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, that's cool. That's just like Julie, by the way. She's like, I'm getting my hair cut, so I'm going to have them straighten it. You know? Do you have a response to that?
Speak on that. I feel like, especially in high school, where I was like straightening my hair like every 2 weeks, it was like, because I was playing sports too, so it was like easy, throw it back in a ponytail. Okay, 2 weeks goes by, I get straightened again, I'm fine. But then when I got to college, started doing my hair, I wasn't playing sports anymore, and it's not like I have to get up, soak my hair again, put all this like products in it. Like no, like I literally put a bonnet on, wake up, fluff it out, and I'm ready to go. But just going back to like the braids and the wigs, like when I do my braids, I do it by myself. And being college students, you don't really have time like that. Like the hair itself is not that much, but sitting there, spending like 5-6 hours putting in those braids, it's a lot. And it's a lot to do in one weekend. And sometimes you just want to pay somebody to do it. But again, I'm not paying $200 for you to do something that I can do myself at home.
Yeah, but that's hard,
So,
man.
Yeah.
Doing it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it gets easier with practice because like I learned to do it here because obviously, I mean, not obviously, but there's not really people that do it here. Like we have some students that do hair, like they make money off of it, but like you can't just go into salon and be like, I want to get my hair braided.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to do it yourself.
Hey, so, okay, now I have another question. When would we know? I wrote this question down exactly, so I'd ask it perfectly. How would we know that we've achieved? Jenna, I'm gonna ask you. So I look at like these women, right? And I think about this white standard of beauty, which is, but it's shifting. And we're talking about how that's shifting. Because this would not exist if it hadn't shifted, man. When I was your age, that wasn't. It was 1984 when we had the first Black Miss America. But when would we know, or how would we know? What's that?
You said it was 1984 when you had the first Black Miss America, right?
Yeah.
And that was, what's her face? Vanessa
Williams.
And she had like straight hair and stuff, right?
Yeah, she was straightening. Yeah, of course she did.
Yeah,
of course.
That's been like
Yeah.
the standard for years. So
Yeah.
that we're supposed to look like that.
She
Or
did not
that's what
look like-
society's supposed to look like.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. That's what I mean. That's that white standard of beauty. Like the door, like the society, we're going to open that door for black women. We're going to be like, hey, you can come in. Like you can, get up on this stage, but you're going to look a certain way. But she didn't have a lot of, she had her white feet. She had some white. Yeah,
She's a
had white
light-skinned
features.
woman.
Yeah,
She looks-
she was light-skinned. She was definitely going to be light-skinned for sure. But if I look at, okay, but how would we know? So here's my question. How would we know that we've achieved a new standard of beauty that's not white? Like what? Like I'm looking at this. I'm looking at them. Like how would we know that? Like what would have to happen? What would you have to see to know? Like hey, there's actually a new standard of beauty here. It's not about being white.
I think. Well, that's like a hard question because I think it's like
my wife's question. It's a really cool question, too,
yeah,
isn't
it
it?
is. I think I don't know. You just have to see almost like a mixed room, so it doesn't seem like we're doing this to seem like we like black people. We're doing this to seem not racist. So it's like a
Right.
mixture of a bunch of other people who look different, but also women that kind of look different. Like they kind of look a little similar. They have like sharper features, and some of them are lighter. So like also seeing more women like Miss Universe, I think. Would
It's
help
hard
with
to
that.
say, actually. Well, I don't know Miss USA, but it's hard to say, because of the way light is in photography. Like the woman on the left, she might be darker than she appears in that photo, right? The woman in the middle, Miss USA, might actually be more darkly pigmented than she looks in that photo. But yeah, you're right. Okay, but how would we know? Like, what else would have to happen to know? Like, hey, we're walking away from the white standard of beauty.
I don't know about that because I feel like it's so ingrained in people that it's like you can't really just like let it go. It's like kind of been here for forever that the standard is white. Well, here. In Kenya, it's like totally different. That like
yeah,
I think Miss
yeah.
Universe looks like exactly how everyone looks, long hair. I mean, people have braids, but like everyone has short hair because you have to cut it for school. So it's like that was totally normal for me to see. It was nice to see it, but it was like
So in the pageants in Kenya, the Miss Kenya pageant, right? Everyone has braids.
no, they have short hair.
They have short hair,
Yeah.
but do they
Like
do
just short.
weaves and stuff or?
Not
I know now. I don't
really.
mean braids. I meant weaves. So they all have short
Not-
hair. You know.
I mean, not that I know, but like in Kenya, it's totally normal just to have like short hair. Like
Okay, I got
you don't do
Okay.
anything just
It's
short.
short natural hair. Uh-huh. Huh. Well, I mean, I'm just kind of wondering when you said, I think it was you that said, when you see this photo, all these women, you think, wait, hang on, what's that about? It's like, are they really the beauty queens, or did something happen where all the judges had to, just across the board, all the judges, it's like post-George Floyd, right? Suddenly white people, everybody was like, oh my God, black people. And like, everyone wants to be okay with black people. So it's like, did something happen this year that's the question I asked myself. Like, what the fuck, what happened, man? Is that what you were kind of going after when you asked that question? Or that,
I feel
maybe
like
that's not as-
I wasn't like, what happened? I was just like, well, I guess I was like, what happened? It was like, what all of a sudden made all these pageants who are most likely judged by like white people. What
Yeah,
all
not
of a
the
sudden,
Miss Universe and Miss World, but the other ones for sure.
okay, yeah. Like what all of a sudden made them choose like all these black people. And I know like they're different pageants and so they have like different requirements, but like all 5 of them, like, and I had no problem with it, but again, it was like in the back of my mind because anytime I see a black woman win, I'm gonna be like I'm gonna be happy. So but it's just like, yeah. And then like going back to your question, like when will we know that this like beauty standard is like no longer a thing? I guess it would just be like if people didn't have so much to say, because I remember going into those comments and it was like, oh well, Miss France or whoever was so much better than her, like why can't we just be happy somebody won? She was beautiful.
Yeah.
She's a good person. Let's just be happy they won. You know, like, why do we always have to look at color or something?
Yeah, why do we have to look at it? So so you would ask that question though to everybody. Why black people, why do you always like got to make this a black thing when it's like, just be happy a black woman won, like what the hell? And other people like, yo, why are we bringing up the fact that she's black, she's beautiful and she won? So would you say that?
Yeah, I guess. Not really on the black side, but for other people. Because like if she was white, I'd be like, okay, like cool. But and a lot of other people would be like, if she was white, they'd be like, okay, like congratulations to her. But as soon as it's a person of color, now everyone has so much to say.
Okay, so let me ask you this, right? Do you think, okay, forget about skin. Okay, we already said they seem like they have maybe a little bit sharper features. Look, by the way, look at Jenna. Jenna does not have sharp features. Hey, sorry, everyone's looking at you, Jenna.
No,
You're on the big screen here. Like, you don't have sharp features.
Yeah.
Right? So like that, this is like one of these features of Europeans, you know what I mean? You don't have sharp features, but this is this kind of European feature, like the nose, the eyes, the brow bone, all, cheeks, the whole thing, the chin, everything. So, but do they, when you look at them, actually, you know what? I have actually another, here. Hey, by the way, that is Miss. This is Miss Black America right now. So we look at her. It's Miss Black America. So I'm wondering, like, are there any notable difference between the contestants who are in line to win Miss Black America versus those who are running for Miss America or Miss USA? Like, do you look at her and think, as black women, okay? Just like use your put your black women lens on, because I can put my lens on too, but I want you to put your lens on as black women. What's different between her and them? Or is there a difference? Do you see anything? You look at her, you
Yeah.
look at them.
Yeah, I think when I see Miss Black America, it's like I was saying before, there's like, I don't know, softer features, I guess, which are like less European, I guess. I mean, not that black people can't have like sharper features like that, but I think it's also showing that there's like different ways to look. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would expect it. You know what I mean? Do you?
I guess the thing that really jumped out to me was her nose.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Her nose.
Yeah, how it was like broader.
It's a broader nose,
It's a broader nose, where the other ones are just kind of like straight.
Yeah, the bridge of her nose. The bridge of her nose is more like the bridge of your nose, right? Less like the bridge of my nose. Here, we look at here though. To her, I would not say, this is Nia Frank, I would not say she has a white nose. Her brother right there definitely doesn't have a white nose, right? So she doesn't, okay? But whatever she looks like here, and then you see her here, yeah, you can see, like, all right, she doesn't. But, okay, but she feels more like a little less white. She looks less white. She looks like she has less white features.
Well, I don't want to say it in that way because it makes it seem
Yeah.
bad about the
No,
rest
no,
of them,
no.
but like, it looks, I don't know, like what's not represented. Like what you see, I don't know.
Okay, so that's what I
guess.
mean by less, like what's not represented as white, yeah. As more standard European, let's say. Uh-huh. Dude, first off, I should have said this. As a sociologist, I don't have standards of beauty at all. I don't, for me, beauty, what we think about is what's beautiful and is like completely socialized. There are a few things that are standard across all cultures. One is what we find largely is symmetry in a face. So regardless of where your background is, people like facial symmetry. So like, you imagine you put a grid on your face and like people are attracted to that. People tend to be attracted across all cultures to clear skin. Just doesn't matter what pigmentation your skin is, where you're from. If it's clear, that tends to be identified as more preferable. Thicker, lusher hair. So whether your hair is 4B or 4C and tightly coiled and you wear it in an afro or natural out, we call it natural afros in my world. Does anyone ever call it afros anymore, man? Yeah, right. Damn. All right. I mean, I know that, but I always get that look when I say it. So however you wear it, the thicker thicker hair tends to be preferable. Otherwise, it's just what we've been taught to like. And so like, I don't look at somebody like her or any of these other people and be like, oh, I have never, probably been 40 years since I looked at someone and said, oh, that person's really handsome or really beautiful. Like it doesn't exist in my mind anymore. Okay, so here, let me go here. One more. Okay. I did 2019, leading black actresses in film. So what do you see when you see that photo? Like, what makes these women as actresses outstanding? Like, what is it? What makes one of them beautiful or not beautiful? And I'm saying, answer this question as black women, okay? Really, put the lens on as black women, not as people in Social 19, not as just young women in Social 19, not as nothing, just as black women. What stands out about different women in this photo to you?
I feel like for me, it's going to be like what movie I saw. Because I'm not looking at this photo and being like, oh, she's more beautiful than the other. I'm looking at like these amazing women who act. And like, obviously not obviously, my eye goes to Angela Bassett because like she's a great actor. And just like all these people are great actors, and I'm not like just gonna be like, oh, like I saw her in a movie. It was a good
Uh-huh.
movie, but I'm not gonna talk about her features.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's how I am. I mean, I don't really. Do you have a thought on that?
A
Just to-
thought on like how they look.
Yeah. Like what jumps out?
Like
for
the first
different
thing I
women?
see when I look at them, not gonna lie, the first thing I look at on a woman is like a forehead. I don't know. Like, you want me to objectify them or something?
No. That's good. What do you see? What are you looking at with the forehead? What are you seeing?
Like, I just see, I look at a forehead. I don't know. That's the first thing that pops out at me.
But what are you looking? Are you looking for like symmetry, curved, like lots of forehead, less forehead, like kind of Ethiopian, East African forehead, or what East African, like Somali, Eritrean, Ethiopian?
I definitely see the different, like, I mean, I don't know exactly which African race, but I could see like in the third row.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I could see like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
They look they're some sort of African, and
East African.
they're East African, and I could definitely
I can
notice
see
that.
without her, I don't know who they are, but East African. Look at where her eyes are compared to her forehead. Look at her. See that? Like that's, and by the way, that's a different kind of symmetry, right? So notice her eyes here. Like look at where her eyes are on her head. But in her, and this is what's really important. Human beings, as we travel around, as people migrated around the world, we adapted to the environment in different ways. And then we had basic, like, we just, as we exchanged genes, I don't want to get into it, but like people who grouped together tended to, certain genetic markers became dominant. And then people who group together tend to exhibit those same markers. So that's why you can travel through the Americas or through Europe or through Africa or whatever, and you're going to see like, yeah, you would know, like, she's not Nigerian. Like you just, and when we think about the Americas, like, most African Americans, almost all, except very few, are West Central African. And are not going to, African Americans are not going to look like her. It's a different side of Africa. And that, to me, it's perfect. It's neither, yeah. Huh. But then I look at them, and I go back here, and I'm like, yeah, but they don't look like, there's something, what is it about them, right? There's certain women here who somehow wouldn't end up here. And then I wonder about that.
I think it's also because, like, the judges are probably like white judges, like the ones that picked them. And then for like movies and stuff, it could have been like, I don't know, like black people who casted them. So there's like, let's get these people in here to represent us. So it was like black people had more say on like who was represented, I guess.
I would think so. Yeah, if you think about who's going to rise to the top, it's going to be lots of different people. You're not leaving it up to one group of people to make that decision. So yeah. And by the way, yeah, I just think that's awesome. The other thing that I think is really important, leading black actors or actresses in film. The other thing is just look how different people look. You know what I mean? It's like, how different. If we remember back to when I did the same thing with Koreans, like if you don't know Koreans, they all look the same, but if you sit and stare at it long enough, you start to see these profound differences that are as big as the difference between Simone and me, like with that list of Koreans, and same with these women, which I think is like, okay, that's a matter of like adjusting our eyes to understand the difference, and then adjusting our desires. You know what I mean? Like what we think. Yeah, KJ.
Are you asking like, what's the differences? So you're asking like, what's the differences between these ladies and the pageant ladies? And
Well,
like
that's one question.
why are?
Do you
Okay.
see a difference? Let me ask you, do you see a difference? Yeah, what's the difference?
Yes.
What do you see?
Well, one thing about these ladies, definitely, they're all skinny, and I think that's one pageant pageant norm that's still the same
Yeah. Yeah,
throughout
yeah.
like the years. They all have been like
Yeah.
skinny women. So
Yeah.
yeah, the skin is changing, which is great, and the hair is changing, which is great, but
Yeah.
they're all skinny.
Yep.
And then this one, we have a diverse group of weights.
If we could see them, we'd also see there's probably a lot more curves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like curves are okay. Curves are cool. Yeah. But probably back here, it's like, yeah, a little bit of some curves, okay, that's cool, but like, yeah, no, you're going to have to conform. That's kind of that white standard. Now we're going to come back to that European standard a little bit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if black people were running the beauty pageant, guaranteed here in Miss Black America, that you're going to see a lot more curves, people. Hey, how is it to hear me say that, by the way? How is it to hear me say, like,
Speak about curves.
yeah. I mean, I'm this old white guy going like, yeah, black people are cool with curves, you know, like how is it?
I mean, it's fine. I mean, that's how the world is. Like, people have curves. I have curves. Like, I'm not skinny, so yeah. I don't really know like what.
Well, you know, one of the things that people say a lot about this class, like, dude, there are a lot of people who wouldn't want to touch this topic, okay? I mean, come on, you know, like there are a lot of people who want to talk about this. And so one of the things that people often say is like, wow, you're talking about things that are really hot, difficult, and potentially explosive. But I'm like, what's explosive about this? This is like, whatever.
I'm just trying to see like what exactly are you talking about? Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm like lost right now.
Yeah. What do you mean?
What happened? So we're talking about just beauty standards in general,
Yeah.
just in general, like why pageant women look the way they look.
Well, I think what we've established here is beauty pageants in this country have been shaped by a European standard of beauty, okay? And you said it. It's like, yeah, people are going to be thinner, for example, right? Thin's going to be it. And like, okay, which isn't the European standard. I mean, you know, like, they're also, but also going to be the desire to, somebody had to decide what the standard was going to be. And once you start deciding what the standard is going to be, of course they're going to use whatever it is that they use in their own culture. They're going to put the lens on it. Like, okay, that's the standard. So when Asian and black women enter the pageant, in the very beginning, they're going to very much adapt to the standard that's already been set.
Yeah. So are you like trying to get at like the white man created the standard, right?
Well, the standard emerges out of white culture for sure. But when we start to go here, so let's go here. But now white people aren't setting this standard for these women.
Yeah, because
So we're
there's
gonna
black directors and black producers who make their own stuff, no?
Some
So
of
they
them
do
are.
that, yeah.
Yeah, some is
But
going to
I'm
be.
not saying
standard.
all white people think that.
No, what I'm saying is some of these women are going to be selected out because of their ability, because of how they line up against the white standard. But because black people have much more control here, you're going to see a wide range of what's.
So it's controlled. So with actresses specifically, like
Yeah.
their whole job is to be a character, to be a
Yeah.
certain, like to look a certain way, to be a certain character. Like
Yeah.
one person that stands out to me, I don't know her name in real life, but in the front, the top row, the second one,
Yeah.
she played her name. Well, in the movie, her name was like Precious and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
and her
yeah.
whole character was to be a heavy-set black woman. So that's why she was casted for that, and that's why she acted in that, because
And
she
became
fit
this
that
awesome
quota.
actress. Yeah.
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 So you're saying that I don't like. Why is that different? Like that's so. I'm sorry. She fit that standard because that's what the story
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
her to be
Yeah.
and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm saying is, and I think what we're agreeing on, if the standard was being shaped by black people, the standard for this would be very different. Yeah. So these women are kind of selected out. You're going to get to the top because you do have these certain white features that are like, okay, right? But if the reverse was true and black people were setting the standard, we would see more things like this. It would just be a different kind of variation. Yeah, you wouldn't see that. Yeah. Huh. Hey, is there a question on the stream? Do you have a question?
So, okay, we're talking a lot about, minority following the major beauty standards, but I also want to like inverse that question into an example that I had in my life, and I want your opinions on it. So when I was in high school, so like 10 years ago, we had this trend of like white girls, blonde, red hair, or even Asians like me, who would get dreadlocks, braids, and stuff like that. And at the time, it was just kind of viewed as a rebellious thing, but amongst the high schoolers, it was viewed very attractive. In fact, I actually really liked the girl that with a dreadlock. And I wanted to know like your opinions on like the majority following the minority beauty standards and trying to like go out of their ways to like tan their skins, do their hairs that doesn't fit their hairstyle.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think it's like, especially with like the tanning and the dreadlocks, I found it like really weird because it's kind of like they're like copying it. Like how you said, it's like a trend, but for us, it's like not a trend. So it's really weird to be like, oh, this is cool. Like we're gonna, like it's not the same as like, I don't know, shaving your head bald for a trend. It's like, this is our culture. So to like mimic it like that is really weird and like disrespectful.
Wait, but if you straighten your hair, you're straightening your hair, and historically black women have straightened their hair to fit into white culture. And let's be clear, man, like there are many situations where black women have got to wear their hair straight. Even in the military until very recently, like black women had to either shave your head or straighten your hair. Like you would not, that hair's not going to fly in the US military. You know what I mean? So like, what's that? What's that about?
I feel like it's also like, I don't know, intention. Like we're not straightening our hair to be like, oh, we're copying you because it's fun. We're just doing it to like do it. But then when other people do it, it's like, sometimes the intentions are not always right or what they should be. But also I think there are black people that have naturally straight hair. I think it's like a small population.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, so it's
Yeah.
crazy.
I feel like locks and braids, they're also like cultural. So I feel like some things where like you don't understand the culture, but you just think it's cute, like, okay, but like, again, like for a trend, that is weird because like, and locks, like when you go back to like Jamaican culture, like locks are very treasured in their culture, like the Rastafarian culture. And then like braids, cornrows, like African American slaves, like they would braid the trail to like the Underground Railroad, something like that, into their braids. So like it's not just something we do or that we have done for just to look nice.
Yeah, but what's the problem? Okay, so KJ, what's the problem if someone says, if someone who's not black is like, yeah, I'm gonna put some weaves in my hair. Like I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get some weaves, I'm gonna put them in my hair.
I think, yeah, I'm about to say white people get extensions. I know a lot of white women who have extensions in their hair.
That's pretty.
But what's it called? I think what it is now, and maybe once again, I'm not talking about like all white people in general. I'm just saying like why they might follow said, like why they're tanning their skin. It's because it's in now. It's the thing to do. It's good. Like for a long time, it was you have to have light skin and straight hair. That was the trend. Everyone want to have light skin and straight hair. So now it's a shift, and people are embracing darker skinned people with their natural hair and their locks. So now they're like, hey, I want to look like that too. So maybe it's just the trend, and that's what they want to do. Do I think it's okay? I mean, honestly, I haven't I don't think it's amazing, but if that's what you want to do, be free. I'm not going to tell you what you should and should not do. Who am I, you know?
But listen, but it's kind of cool, isn't it, though, that if you, like, think about the three of you. When someone comes along and says, hey, no, listen, whether they're Asian or whatever, but they're saying, no, hey, I want to look like you. Like, I really want to.
Yeah, I personally do not have a problem with that. Like, I know, like, when I go to the Caribbean and stuff, like, in the resort areas, there's, like, the little white girls want to braid their hair and stuff, and like my family be like, oh no, like why are they doing that? They can't do that. They shouldn't do that. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but I don't think I don't think they're trying to have like any ill intent. It's the trend.
Yeah.
It looks nice, and they're appreciating that, and I get that. But there is a lot of people who flip that and try to like make fun of.
Try to make fun of it or something.
Like what Simone said.
Simone,
yeah, I just
final
want to
comment.
add, like going back to like the whole trend thing, like that's why like the whole Crown Act came into place. I don't know if you guys know what the Crown Act is, but it's basically a law that's put into place in some places where you can't discriminate based on hair. Because there have been instances where black women, black men have been kicked out of classrooms, kicked out of school because they're wearing braids, because they're wearing locks. Literally, like a few years ago, a black man in New Jersey was wrestling, and the ref told him to stop, bring out a pair of scissors, and cut his locks off, like in the middle of the match. Like, that's crazy. But then, like, we get like it's a trend, like it looks cute, but like you're also like people that wear this stuff are not thinking about what black people can go through, and I feel like that's the problem that some people have with it, because we're getting kicked out of class, told to cut our locks, but then y'all just walking around like it's cute.
Yeah, dude, that's it, exactly. Okay, awesome, man. Nice job. Wait, hang on. Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. I think there's a way of seeing that, like that spin on it. Yeah, that's cool.